Okay, let's get these axle shafts back in, and first of all we're going to have to put the bearings. Here are our new beautiful bearings, and just for the record, my cost on these bearings were over $100 for a set of these. So these bearings are not cheap. So but now we got to put the races in, so let me get everybody set up to put these races and bearings in. So I'm going to put you guys on the stand so you can see what I'm doing. There's a couple different ways you can put these in here, but what I normally just do is take the new race, stick it in like so, and take the old race to get started. So pop it in there like that. Use a ball peen hammer or even a nice brass hammer. It's gonna get started like that. Then take a brass drift. And keep in mind that you put these in the right way. You put them in the other way, you're going to be in trouble. So let me get this in and then we'll move to the next step. And how you know if you've got it connected to the very back here and you're flush where you need to be to the backing of this, just hit it. Makes a sound and a feel. Kind of feel it through there and it bounces back on you. And it makes it, a solid sound, and you know you're in there. Let me reiterate, when I said that these were $100, my cost, I meant a piece. Each bearing and race was over $100 a piece. And I think that's pretty expensive. But let's get back to what we were doing. Okay, now we're going to put in the well, anyway, let me show you. They're in the way they're supposed to be. Okay, now I actually put in both sides and I only filmed one, so we're gonna go in kind of here. Now we're going to put the washer in and the seal in. And I would clean this really well. See, the seal we're going to put in here stops all the oil from getting into the housings. So we don't want oil in there normally. I mean, the felts can stop it and stuff, and then it pukes out onto your rims, and that's not cool. And who really wants that? So take some sort of solvent and kind of clean around that real well, and I'll show you why. Now here's that washer. Now this washer is important. It goes back against it like this, so it has otherwise there's not a lot there to really seal against. And you want it in there like that. And then this will go in like this, and normally I will take a old bearing race to get it tapped in the way I want. I mean, if some of you have a seal pusher or whatever they call that thing, that's also really cool too, but just make sure you get it in nice and straight and not deform this any kind of way in here. Remember, the side that's open like this, and inside of there is this spring. Well, that spring always goes to the oil because it's clamping around here, and then that keeps, if you put it this way, it could push past it. So see how it bevels up like that? Don't do that. Open spring side to the oil. That means inside. Can't do that. Can't really, how do you say, urge that the importance of that. This is how important that is. Now I'm going to take some RTV sealant, Honda Bond, whatever I decide to use, something really good. And I'm going to put this around in here. Now this comes with this sealant to do that, but I like to stick it in there. I know that the only way it's going to get oil is through here then. Keep in mind the gear case oil isn't really supposed to be up this high, but just in case somebody does, it doesn't go through. So if you put a little RTV sealant in here, that helps out a whole bunch, and I'll show you that here in a second. Okay guys, here's me putting a little RTV sealant in there. You can really use whatever you want. I would recommend something better. Little things like this, you know, I mean, I don't like the orange stuff a whole lot because it's orange. And it's just, I like to use gray or black or something like that, or you know, something just, and there's nothing wrong with the orange stuff, but and my personal favorite is Honda Bond. I just don't have any currently. But no, we're going to put that in there just like that. A nice coat of that around in there. It's going to do two things. It's going to guarantee me that it's not going to, oil's not going to seep past the other side of the race. And it's going to help me slide it in there without too much damage. Without any damage, exactly. And here we go. I have a much smaller race. I've kept several different sizes of these because they really work for putting seals in and stuff. So I just kind of kept them, and that's pretty darn good, you know, way to get that started in there. And like I said, make sure you got it in there the right way. Most of these seals just aren't at the part store ready to go. You got to order everything, so that would suck to mess it up and then have to wait. Who likes that, right? And you just take this and tap it in, or whatever you got to put it in. So. Alright, as you can see, the seal is now in there. Okay. Now, I don't know where my seal pusher went. I probably loaned it to somebody, but I took an old pulley and I stuck this in here like so, and that's how I stuck it in there perfectly without mangling the seal in any kind of way. I actually have a tool for this. I mean, you don't have to, I mean, this is what anybody can do as long as it's the diameter of the seal. But what you want to be sure, once you get it in there, make sure that washer behind here, when you rub your finger, make sure the washer is against the casing, and make sure there's no play between the seal and the washer. Then you know that you're down. And also when you hit on it, you can kind of feel this, like with a race, it's a lot lighter. You can feel a bounce back in the hammer. I mean, if you've been doing it forever, you can kind of notice that, but if you haven't been, just kind of make sure this is uniform around here, and that washer back there is tight against the casting, and then the excuse me, there's no play between the rubber and the washer, because it doesn't say what that washer's for. I don't even think it really needs it for a backing, but I will tell you one thing. If there does get some play in the bearing or something, that big metal washer in there is probably so it can rest on there instead of just resting on the seal and destroying it. Kind of like a backup, you know, if this thing's spinning real fast, it'll hit that steel washer instead of just totally destroying the rubber on the seal. Alright, that's how that goes in. So yeah, let's put in the race. Okay, here's our new race. We will be putting that in now. That goes in there just like so. Tap it in with a hammer, brass dowel. You know, you just don't want to chip this. The odds of chipping this, even if all you have is a metal one, is pretty thin, you know. But I've seen it, it has happened. So I like to use brass when I'm tapping some of these things in. But anyway, and your bearing, then we'll put the bearings on. You might see, well, how in the world do you do this? But you'll see in a minute. So let me put this in. And now we have our nice new race in there, as you can see. All snug and awesome. Oh, one thing I'd like to reiterate, when you're using brass tools, drifts and anything, you really should wear eye protection, because the brass is designed to slough off so it doesn't hurt any of other stuff, and fishing brass out of your eyes is not fun. So just as a typical thing, you should be wearing safety goggles when messing with brass stuff. Hopefully it'll save you from a trip to the optometrist. So, well, I'm not going to be able to finish this today because the ID of one of my bearings is incorrect. So something got lost in translation when it came to ordering, I suppose. But that's okay. That does give me a chance to say, when you're working on stuff like this, it's a good idea to look for the part numbers of all your pieces. Like, there's the part number of this axle, and if you don't have one on this one, you can always measure up and make sure they're exactly the same. You should go back to your book, and I refer to my book for many things. You should go back to your book and make sure that the pieces and stuff that you have are matching up to what you're taking out and all that good stuff. So in any accord, that's where we're at. This video is going to be put on hold, and then we'll finish it up as soon as I get the 2 bearings that I need. The bearings have come in, got new ones, ready to rock, got them back here. Now we have to tap those on. Now you can tap these on with a punch, or you can use a big old round piece of pipe and go over it and tap them on. But either way, that's how you get these on here. And once they're on there, then we'll move to the next part of putting them inside the housing. Alright, now we've got our bearings pushed onto our washer. Make sure you have your spacer washer on, drinking whatever style you have. Refer to your manual and book for that. But now you have our new bearings. Are already greased here. Now, why you would grease the outer ones would be because oil's not supposed to come through here now, because we have our new seals in there. So, and oil's not supposed to be here, so the only lubrication it's going to get is the grease fitting. So, anyway, so put your new grease fitting in and make sure grease comes through it, and we've done that. So we're going to go ahead and I think we're going to put our right one in first. And let's do that. Let me get you guys set up on the stand, because I'm not going to be able to hold the camera and do this. Now, keep in mind, it's not that important. I mean, I guess you could. It wouldn't matter. You can grease the inner ones if you would like, but it's not really going to matter because they get oil in them. But you could put a little in there. It really wouldn't hurt anything, because the oil would eventually dilute it. And it's already 90 weight that's going in there anyway, 90 or 85 weight or whatever. Now that we have the new seals in there, you probably could go a little thinner if you wanted, but normally 90 weight, 85 weight, something like that is what I use. You use whatever. So let's get you guys set up so you can watch me. Since I don't have any help today, we're going to use my friend the jack stand. Don't forget to put your dust cap on. Now, you're going to want to be careful inside of there, because you have that seal in there. And I would recommend, this is my recommendation, I would go in there and put some oil on that, because that oil is going to go around, a little grease or something, so that it can slide on that shaft good and you don't have any issues with ripping it or tearing it. Now, this is a lot easier to do if you have some help, but, well, I don't have any help, so this is what I got. So this is what I got. It's just me and that jack stand. So my helper today, are the jack stands. And hopefully I'm strong enough to do this by myself. It's pretty dang heavy. You don't want to mess up your seal. That's what makes it difficult. I have my left arm inside the housing, picking up on it. And now I'm inside. Can't. There we go. We don't want to put needless pressure on that seal until we get everything in there. We don't want to booger that up any kind of way. Because we went through all the trouble to put it on there, so. Alright, let me reposition the camera and now here's our inner bearing. And slide over here. It goes in there just like that. Now we got to put this gear in here and then tighten all this up. Now this is going to be kind of hard to do, especially when I get ready to put the other one in. So I may not tighten it up all the way. Once you get it in here, it's not that tough, but initially getting it in. And I would recommend that you wear gloves. Like I said, this is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the other side in by myself, but see if we can push it out a little bit. We got our jack stand over here to let's weasel that sucker in there. Can. Okay. Here we go. Maybe I can do this way. Maybe. Maybe not. That sucker really heavy. Oh shoot. Sorry guys, I gotta get in here. I'm gonna have to. I'm sorry guys, I just could not move that in there. If I had to get right in front of the way of everything to really be able to get that wheel, get this big gear in here. It was just so heavy. So I'm actually in there now. So, okay, we're in here now. Our bearings are in place. Now some of these, your bolt's actually gonna kind of press the axle shaft into the seating of the bearing. It's gonna press that in there. So now you gotta tighten this up. So I'm gonna tighten this up and then we're gonna refer to the book exactly how they want to do it, and I'm gonna tell you. Oh, by the way, if you have a friend, it sure would be easier to put these in there than by yourself. But alright guys, we are in. The bolts are tightened up and we are in there. Now there are 2 holes right there for our cotter pins. Okay, now the book would tell you to tighten this up as tight as you can, or at least that's what the book says, with a 15 to 20 inch open end wrench. Okay, but you're gonna have to make some calls yourself. Alright, things things were a little different back then, so common knowledge with bearings and stuff is you don't want them too tight, but yet you don't want them too loose. So this is something I'm gonna have to leave up to you. I suggest you read your book and use your judgment on what you think it should be. I can't really tell you that because so there are some things, if you're gonna mechanic and turn the wrench, you're gonna have to make some calls on your own. So look at your book. Now you see that space in there, how it's really close, and when I first did number 1, I was telling you about that, well, we were getting a close space like that too, but with old bearings, and that could be bad, but now we have brand new bearings in it, so the wear will be much different than what it was. So now we don't have to worry about those issues. I mean, that was they wore so much that they were separated like that. So I'm not sure if I explained that correctly, that there's nothing wrong with that amount of space. It's just, you know, when you have that much play and you put them back together, you know. But we have new bearings in there now, and I feel totally confident that it is fine. We didn't feel confident before just tightening them up and leaving them be. I mean, that was a lot of play in there. So, and then once we got to the bearings, we realized that they were damaged and they had all that problems with them. So now we should be permanently good. So don't let that, once you put all the new stuff in, that space in there, don't let that being that close scare you. But you have new bearings in there now. So, but some of this is going to be your call. You know, if you want to do it exactly how the book says and, you know, tighten it all the way up or leave some play in it, that's up to you. You got to make that call. So anyway, I'm going to do what I know is going to make it right and work correctly. And all right, now we just got to put our cotter keys in. After we put our cotter keys in, and then we'll be able to put the back end on. Cotter keys are in. They're in their slots. Everything's pretty much the way I want it. So let's put our dust covers in. So we'll put these in here, and then those go in here, and they go over here. Alright, dust covers are on. Now we're done with all of that, so now we are ready to put this on, the back end. So we gotta lower it into there and get that going. Just so y'all know, we are going to be going back with grade 8 bolts. I've already checked them. They're going to be in there plenty good. They'll be pretty. Alright, we're back at it. I put some shellac on here, and I cleaned my mating surface really well. So now we're just got to line it up and get it in there, and I've got to, ow, that hurt. Now I've got to get it to line up and go directly into the PTO, which shouldn't be too hard, being that I have these big holes, these big bolt holes here. If you can kind of, if you can, there we go. Kind of move this into the same spot. Really can't see it very well in there, but anyway. Go. Let's go down just a little bit. Make sure you got nothing inside of there that you don't want in there. One last look. Make sure no wrenches, nothing you wouldn't want to have in there that you shouldn't have in there. Okay. There we go. Now it should be, there you go. That helps you find, just turn that and it should go right into the inner PTO part so everything works correctly. So let's put our bolts in. And I would put in the bolts, especially back here. I would put it, me personally, I put in the bolts first. And why I would do that, because your two nuts go up here. Because you put the nuts on it, it's easier to align it. And you should see some of that stuff oozing out, which is a good thing. And your washer should be collapsing nice and easy. Now I would let that sit for a minute and let it push out all over, and then give it one more wrench all the way around and they'll be there. So let's go find 2 new nuts to put on there. Now I have a new bolt to put on here. They would be a grade 8 one, but it's not the outer diameter, it's a little bit different. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the old bolts, but I did put new lock washers on. I could use the other bolt if I had to, but I'm going to go ahead and go back with the original ones. And there you have it. There you have it, guys. We're done. She's back on. I did not go ahead and go with grade 8 bolts right here because, well, I didn't have one that quite met the outer parameter, so I used the original ones, but I did put a new lock washer on. I would run through and turn the axles, both of them, and I would turn the PTO, make sure nothing is binding any kind of way. I would turn both of them, and see we have 0 play, but yet we can turn them by hand. But we have no play in there anymore, in or out. It is just perfect. We're in great shape. Both axles. Well, that's how you put new axle bearings and seals in. And it's pretty much the same on most of them. That's kind of how you go about doing it. So I would recommend still to get a book if you're, if you can use some of the ideas and the ways I do things, great. But remember, these are my ways. I'm not telling you that's how you have to do it. This is the way I do it. And I'm doing, I'm doing this work, so it's all on me. So anyways, I hope I helped you out. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Oh, and if you wonder why there's all this tape on here, you really don't want to drop anything in there or something fall in there while you're working on other parts of the tractor. I'm going to go ahead and put the side cover back on, and then I'll fill her full of differential fluid, and all that good stuff. But I just want to make sure nothing falls in there accidentally, because things do happen. So, and always double check, triple check that you don't leave any tools in there, or any, maybe a washer or a nut fell in there. It's nothing that couldn't be fixed if something happened, but there's nothing wrong with doing a double check just to make sure that you didn't leave nothing in there, because hey man, from what I've heard in the past, sometimes stuff like that happens accidentally. So either way, we're done, we're good. Thank you. Thanks for watching, and until the next video.